Okay, well, looks like everybody's here, so we'll just get started. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to thank you all for attending another informative webinar presented by BidYourEnergy.com. My name is Thomas Johnson, and I'll be your host this morning. Today we're going to talk about Duke Energy changing their RTO from Midwest ISO to the PJM interconnection and what kind of effect this will have on your business. So Regional Transmission Organization, RTO, that is designated by FERC, or the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, to direct operation of the power grid in its area. You may also hear the term ISO, or Independent System Operator, and the two are somewhat interchangeable. There's a few subtle differences, but I won't get into that. The Regional Transmission Organization is responsible for moving electricity over large interstate areas. They also coordinate, control, and monitor an electric grid that is larger with much higher voltages than the typical power company's distribution grid. The large power lines on those big steel girders that you see out there, the power that's on those lines needs to be stepped down or converted using a transformer before they can actually be used to power the electrical devices at your home or your business. And finally, they operate a wholesale electricity market. So that's just a little bit about what an RTO is and what they do. So Duke Energy wanted to switch their RTO. They were with Midwest ISO. Here's an article from May 20th, 2010, where they proposed the switch to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. It's very interesting. I highlighted a couple paragraphs here. Duke says that joining PJM will bring long-term benefits for Duke Energy's Ohio customers because it puts all Ohio utilities in the same wholesale market, where customers will benefit from the same wholesale and retail market rules. Okay, earlier in the year, First Energy, they own 3 utilities in northern Ohio, Cleveland Illuminating, Ohio Ed, and Toledo Ed. So Duke is saying that this will bring more uniformity to Ohio since they were allowed to switch at the beginning of this year. And also they went on to say having all power plant owners in the same RTO subject to the same price and market signals, now that's going to assist in outage and maintenance issues. So that's what Duke has to say about it. I clicked out another interesting article. This is from October 22nd that year. This is right after the proposal from Duke to move was actually approved by the federal government. And this is the chairman of the Energy Commission, John Wellinghoff. He was quoted regarding the move and said it was actually a good thing. He said utilities should be free to pick, and I quote, the most competitive RTO that provides the best opportunity for their business models to operate, end quote. Furthermore, the chairman said it's healthy for markets like Midwest ISO to, quote, realize another RTO may have a superior structure that is attracting more utilities, and they maybe should consider changing their structure, end quote. Okay, so it looks like we are getting to the meat of the issue here. This is the second utility that has jumped ship in a very short time, and the FERC chairman is saying it's healthy for Duke to want to go somewhere where their business model can thrive. And Midwest ISO should realize they have an inferior structure, and they should look at changing it. So what does PJM have that is so much more attractive than Midwest ISO? Well, here's a map. You can see I have Midwest ISO in green. PJM is in yellow. This is before the integration of Duke. Southwest Ohio, Cincinnati area, that's Duke's territory in green. Here's a map post-integration. The entire state of Ohio is now in yellow with PJM. So what was so much more attractive about PJM, and why are all these utilities moving there? Well, just by looking at this map, I can see one reason. PJM is covering deregulated markets. In MISO, their entire territory is all regulated. Here's a closer look at the PJM territory. And as I said, it's almost entirely deregulated and opened up for competition. You have third-party suppliers of electricity doing business in these markets, saving businesses millions of dollars. PJM also has a uniform capacity market and a pricing model they call the Reliability Pricing Model, or RPM. And they hold auctions each year to clear capacity pricing. Each zone has their own price, and they use a forward model where they clear the price 3 years in advance. Okay, capacity is the demand side of your bill. You have a bill that is separated into 2 categories. If you look, you'll see the supply section, or the energy that's used by the facility. That is usually, or that's always dealt in kilowatt hours. And you have the demand side of your bill. Sometimes that's called the delivery side, distribution. That's the capacity. That's the amount of energy needed to run your facility. And that's the amount that the grid needs to have on hand at all times to keep your facility running and keep the power grid stable and reliable. Now, in PJM, they actually have a market for this. You have power plants, utilities, suppliers. They all get together, decide what the price of capacity is going to be in each zone, who's going to provide it, how much it's going to cost, and it's very, very stable. It's predictable. It's done 3 years in advance. In Midwest ISO, you have no capacity market at all, mainly because it's made up of vertically integrated utilities, so they own their own power plants. The utilities out there sell their own power to their own customers and supply their own power to their own customers, and usually it's a regulated market setting, so they don't have any competition. In some ways, it's like the Wild West. They don't really have any rules other than the government's there to make sure that they don't gouge their customers. So let's talk about what kind of effect this move from MISO to PJM is going to have on your business. Well, first thing I have here, all Ohio utilities in the same wholesale market. Everyone in Ohio is now subject to all the same rules. We're looking at more uniformity, better reliability. Just to give you one example here, this summer I think we're looking at above average temperatures. Okay, that causes strain on the grid, and having better communication lines, being part of a larger, more profitable RTO just means you have more backup in case anything happens. You won't black out, brown out. This could be, cost your business a lot of money. Better incentive packages under PJM rules. This one's great. The PJM market is just littered with all these great incentives. Demand response is popping out at the top of my head right here. Specifically, there's a program called the ILR program that stands for Interruptible Load Program, and that pays businesses to lower their peak demand for electricity a few times a year to help alleviate stress on the power grid. So this is typically when it gets hot out, they have emergency events that are called. It's usually 1 or 2 a summer. They last from 2 to 4 hours. You get paid to turn off your equipment, lower your air conditioning, stagger production, anything you can do, turning lights off, anything that you can do to make sure that you're not using as much electricity as you typically do will earn you a paycheck. So a good consulting company like Bid Your Energy, well, we can help you find out which incentives are out there, which ones will work for your business, and get you signed up in them. And finally, the competitive capacity market, which we just talked about, that RPM pricing model. This is definitely the biggest impact that you will see on your business. Now remember, MISO, Midwest ISO, didn't have a capacity market at all. The utilities did their own thing. In PJM, we have a competitive situation. Power plants from all over the zone compete to provide power. PJM holds these auctions and sets these prices, and they're done once a year. The auction is held in May, and we're looking at setting prices for 3 years in advance. So earlier this month, they held an auction for the rates going forward in 2015. So when this move by Duke was approved, it was October 2010, and they had already done the auctions up until 2013. Duke agreed to take care of the reliability for their own zone until 2014 when they could participate in an auction. So they actually did compete last year's auction and this year's. And on the next slide, I have some data. Okay, so on here we have the clearing price for Duke Energy Ohio matched up with the average price across the board for PJM. Now these prices are good considering the rest of the market. Capacity across the board is skyrocketing. And it's nice to see Duke, Ohio falling in below that average. And so if you look at the market in northern Ohio, for instance, the first energy territory, you are more than twice the size of Duke's. They're going to be paying $340 a day to run a single megawatt. And if you want, we can actually help you. If you want to call in, we can help you figure out what your capacity rate is right now, and where it was last year to see how much you're actually saving. Most of the people we've talked to from Duke are saving slightly less, but when you look at this data, you might be paying more, but you'll be paying a lot less of where you would be, I guess is the way what I'm trying to get at. Next week's webinar is going to have a lot more and go in a deeper look into these capacity prices and what's happening in that market. But it is a perfect segue into my next two slides, which are bid your energy now. Capacity costs are going through the roof, as we just talked about. Supply costs are still down, so that we can save you a lot of money, but the price of natural gas is going up every day. And in turn, because natural gas is the chief fuel source for electricity, these electricity supply costs are going up. We have EPA regulations. Those are coming in and closing power plants down. So we're reducing our own supply without doing anything about the demand. It's driving prices up. Right now, while the market is down, is the time to move. Negotiate a fixed rate or extend your current rate, and so that when it expires, it'll just flip over to a price that's right now when it's low, rather than waiting 6 months to when your contract ends and price it out when the market's up. Okay, we have over 160 employees here. They're all ready to help. At Bid Your Energy, you get assigned a dedicated analyst. They go over 30 separate components on your electric bill. And anything that they can use to negotiate a better rate, they will. That's literally 30 separate components on that bill. And honestly, that's the best part about working with Bid Your Energy. We do all that legwork for you. You can just relax and know that Bid Your Energy is going to find the best price for you. We have over 10,000 facilities in our program, so we have size and leverage. We work with the big companies out there and demand the lowest rates possible. And that's all I have for you today. I'm sorry I couldn't open the floor up for questioning, but I will be at my desk for the rest of the day. You can call me at 877-669-8243. My extension is 336. Again, my name is Thomas Johnson. You can also visit us online, bidyourenergy.com. Get started by clicking on that link there. Get started, and we'll do all the work from there. Thanks again. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and I hope you all have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend.